This just isn't going to happen, is it, Catherine? How can they get this through the Lords?
Well, they will get it through the Lords eventually, because this is what happens. Legislation goes back and forth. We call it ping pong. The House of Commons decides what they want to do. It goes to the Lords. They say, oh, we don't like this. We don't like that. We're going to tweak it, sent back. And it goes back and forth until they finally get something that everybody can live with. And it is not the job of the House of Lords to block legislation. It is to revise it, but ultimately not to block it. So certainly, yes, it's more bad news for the government. It's going to delay getting this Safety of Rwanda bill onto the statute book because Parliament is going into recess after next Tuesday for 3 weeks for Easter. So now it's looking like middle of April before it's actually voted into law. Then no doubt there's going to be interventions from the courts, something that Rishi Sunak was determined would not happen, but seems likely to happen anyway. But the government did say they would get flights off in the spring. Now, spring, March, April, May, they are still hopeful they can get people on flights to Rwanda by the end of May. Now, there's many people think that it's simply never going to happen. Labour is saying, well, the government aren't really ready with this. Otherwise, they would have made sure that this was got through. Labour have also said that even if people do go to Rwanda and Labour come into power, they will then scrap the scheme that the government has spent over 2 years announcing and floating and saying we're going to get this done. Meanwhile, of course, we find that the government scheme to put asylum seekers on barges in old military bases, etc., that was supposed to save the taxpayers so much money, is in fact not cheaper than hotels. So it really is all an almighty mess. And as you just said before, hundreds of people still crossing the channel. So one of Rishi Sunak's pledges, stop the boats. At the moment, they're doing anything but.
And how will this go down within the Tory party on that note, Catherine? Because as you say, this is one of the 5 key pledges of the Prime Minister. He said that those flights would be taking off. We now know that probably won't happen until at the very earliest June. And yesterday we saw that record-breaking day, 450 people crossing the Channel. And I'm sure there'll be many more coming in those good weather days in the summer.
Yes, and badly is how it's going down within the Conservative Party, because, of course, this policy has led to sackings and resignations. Suella Braverman, former Home Secretary, Robert Jenrick, former Immigration Minister, have been saying very publicly this scheme is not going to work. It's not tough enough. Other people within the Conservative Party on the more moderate One Nation wing aren't very happy about this scheme in the first place. But I think Rishi Sunak will take some comfort. There's been a very fractious week or so. The mood in the Tory party is absolutely awful. But he met with the 1922 committee of backbenchers last night. He stressed to them that people thinking about toppling him, that ultimately they're not hurting him so much as they're hurting all of themselves and the Conservative Party, because the electorate tend not to vote for disunited parties, which the Conservatives very clearly are at the moment. The other good news, of course, is inflation. Yesterday, down to 3.4%. Hopes of cuts to interest rates, although probably not today. But the government thinking on the economy, at least, things are starting to go in the right direction.